Hello, welcome to my 100th episode. I cannot believe this is my 100th video. It's incredible. And I want to thank each and every one of you who watches my videos and subscribes to my channel. And if you haven't already, here's a beautiful little reminder to do just that. And today, in honor of my 100th video, I am sharing with you a little bit of a Q&A session with some questions that, number one, I am frequently asked. Number two, I have collated from an Instagram story request that I made the other day. If you don't follow me on Instagram already, it's up here, I believe, or up here. I can never get my directions right when I'm recording. And number three, from some comments that people have made over time on my YouTube videos. So I hope that these questions can help you if you are thinking of moving to Italy or you're currently here. Let's get into the video. So the first question that I was asked on my Instagram was, my daily life as a woman here in Italy, how does it differ from the UK? The biggest difference, if I'm really honest, is that people stare at me a lot more here. I think some of that is down to the fact that I'm super tall, and to be tall here in Italy isn't really a common thing. But secondly, I just find the men here, like generically speaking, oh my goodness, they just stare at women a lot more, and I didn't really notice it as much in the UK. Of course it happens, and it did happen to me, but I just feel like it's on speed here in Italy. Like the men are just like, a woman, like literally that's exactly how it feels here in Italy. So yes, I would say probably my daily life doesn't feel any different in terms of being exclusive to my gender, but when it comes to like walking around and the way that men will be with me, yes, I do find that different to the UK. So, you know, I think that's my answer. So my second question was, what websites do I recommend for cultural exchanges? Now, if you know a little bit about my journey, I'm going to put the link up here to the video where I shared with you why I moved to Italy. You will know that I began my journey here on a cultural exchange, and I used a fantastic website called Workaway. In fact, I had a little look on Workaway when I was recording and preparing for this video, and it is still active, it is still visible, but obviously when I did this language exchange, it was pre-COVID back in 2018, and things have changed since then. So honestly, I can't tell you how it would be now, because with Workaway you would stay in people's homes or in their accommodation. So I'm not sure with COVID how that would really work now, but Workaway was the website that I used, and it offers cultural exchanges in lots of different countries, Italy included, and in lots of different parts of Italy as well. So if you have a particular region in mind that you would like to spend some time in, this is a fantastic way to really get to know what the country is like and the region is like in an everyday setting. And in return, obviously, you will be given something back, whether that's teaching, whether that's help with a particular job or task. But it's a beautiful collaboration, and you learn so much in the process. I set my life up from that one cultural exchange. And, you know, I would just say with Workaway, it is a paid subscription site. So you will have to pay for the whole year if you want to benefit from using their services. But it's an investment that's definitely worth making, because the benefits, the long-term benefits that you can gain from it could really help you to decide whether Italy is really the country for you. So this is the resource that I use. And my next question is, was Brexit a big motivation for moving to Italy? Yes, it was. I think Brexit gave me the big kick up the bum that I needed to get the move progressing faster than perhaps it may have otherwise happened, because I knew all too well that if I procrastinated, if I delayed moving to Italy, it may become something that was very problematic and difficult with visas and various other paperwork and things that you have to go through now if you want to come and live here and you come from the UK. So for this reason, Brexit was a very big motivator for me to get my arse in gear, move here and get everything sorted out before it actually happened. So yes, in a way, I don't agree with Brexit personally, but I do like the motivation it gave me to progress and get everything in order here in Italy before it actually came about. So the next question, what do I find hard about working in Italy? Working in Italy is very, very different to the UK. Lots of different factors. In fact, I'm going to be recording a video about it next week. So if you don't already, another beautiful, friendly reminder, subscribe to my channel and you will be notified when that video goes live next week. But what I find most difficult is that the culture here is so different when it comes to working. I find that people, especially here in the South, put up with conditions that just would never ever stand in the UK, like literally never ever stand. And it's very, very different. Like in the UK, we have like workers' rights. I feel like there are more rights given to employees in the UK than perhaps really exist here in Italy. And also I find that workers, they have a bit more of a boundary. They understand what is expected of them and what isn't. Pay dates are always on the same day every month. You always are given an indeterminato contract, which means a contract that doesn't expire unless you apply for a job that's short term. There are many, 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 many differences, but I think the biggest one that I find most difficult is that employers really take advantage of their staff here, if I'm really honest. Like you could have a worker who's extremely skilled and is paid the same as someone who doesn't have half as much experience, but the employer doesn't make the distinction because it's just as easy to say, okay, you don't want the job, I'll find somebody else who does, than it is to really invest in their staff. Now, of course, this doesn't go for every single company. I'm being very generic here. I'm sure perhaps, as it is for a lot of Italy, things may differ in different regions, but certainly I feel, especially here in the South, the working culture is very different and employees tolerate a lot more than would ever happen in the UK. So yes, but stay tuned, I'm going to be recording a video all about that next week. So my next question, is Italy ever going to end the COVID restrictions? Well, my friends, progress is nigh. So as of Friday, Italy are going to be reducing some of the restrictions, including the need to wear the face mask outdoors. Now, unfortunately, I live in Campania and Campania has a governor who is very strict. De Luca is his name, and for this reason I think he wants to extend the use of wearing masks outdoors until the end of March. But for the rest of Italy, you lucky people, you don't have to wear your mask outdoors anymore from Friday, and this is significant progress. We have been one of the only countries, I feel, who have consistently worn a mask outdoors everywhere since this pandemic began. And to now be in a situation where we can be free again when we're walking around in open spaces feels incredible. The end of March, 31st of March, is when Italy's state of emergency is due to expire. Provided it isn't renewed, then at this point, I think it will start to signal the end of all of these restrictions because the majority of them are tied into this state of emergency and should hopefully start to signal the beginning of a return to normality. So if you are thinking of coming to Italy and you want to avoid all the craziness that is currently happening with green passes and masks and everything else that we have going on here, hopefully at the end of March you'll have some clarity as to what the situation will look like for the spring and summer. So yes, we are all very hopeful that at the end of March the situation may start to change a little bit because honestly I understand the restrictions, but I also understand that it's not good for people's mental health and for the country and the economy as a whole to continue to live in this way. So for this, I hope that for all of our sakes, at the end of March, things change. So yes, that's the current situation. So the next question that I am asked is, do I find the traditions hard in Italy? Not really. I find the Italian traditions very beautiful and I feel like I learn something from Italian culture every single day. I think one thing that I do find difficult is that I feel like I have a different mindset to the majority of Italians. Again, I'm being very generic with my big brush, painting everybody with the same brush, but in the south of Italy, I repeatedly find myself surrounded by people who, in my opinion, have very closed minds. Their minds are limited to the bureaucracy, they're limited to the lack of opportunities, they are limited to what is possible and not possible for them here in Italy. And I just see things from a different perspective. I see the fact that you are completely capable of creating your own life and your own opportunities, and that when you decide to place that responsibility in the hands of the government or in the hands of the economy, you completely disempower yourself because they are never responsible for the reason why you can't succeed. And, you know, I think they just become very convenient excuses. And I have a very different mindset. And sometimes I find that very difficult because a lot of Italians almost have it ingrained within them that life is going to be difficult and tough, and you know, it's not possible to do what you want to do. Consider a lot of students that I teach will tell me on a regular basis that they may not end up doing the job that they really want to do. They just accept whatever they can do in the form of work. And I think that's really sad, because I think if you have a passion to do something, absolutely you should follow that passion. There is nothing more soul destroying than ending up in a career that you never wanted to be in the first place because you didn't think there was the opportunity for you to do it. So, you know, I mean, the same thing happens in the UK, don't get me wrong. Brexit and COVID haven't helped with job situations, and there are people that I know even who took degrees in specific subjects and have ended up working in completely different fields entirely just because they needed to work. But I think, you know, if there is an opportunity for you to follow your dreams, you absolutely must do it. And so I find sometimes the mindset of Italians can be very difficult for me to get used to, because I have a very different way of looking at life and a very different perspective, I think. So the next question that I'm asked is, what tip can I share for adapting to life in Italy? The biggest tip I can share is just don't frigging compare. Like, honestly, you've got to be open to change. You've got to be open to the way life is here. If you have come to Italy with the sole motivation of living a life similar to the one that you lived in your country, you may be very sorely disappointed. So I suggest that if you are living here in Italy, you start to relax into the way of life a little bit, into the culture, into the experiences more. Because honestly, I think it's a real pity that if you've chosen to live here, but your head isn't here and your heart isn't here, you are missing out on some of the most valuable experiences you will ever have, and some of the most life-changing moments that you can experience here in Italy. So I think the biggest tip I can give you is just don't compare. Just relax into the moment and enjoy all the benefits that Italy can bring you, because there are many. I'm not saying it's a perfect country. It can be extremely complicated at times. In fact, I did an Instagram meme the other week where I was like, people say it's easy in Italy. Ha ha ha, don't be ridiculous, because it's true, it really isn't. But it's very beautiful nevertheless, and you know, it's certainly one of the best decisions that I ever made. So you need to relax, adapt, and just understand that this is the way of life here. Next question that I was asked is, what is one thing I do without fail here in Italy? There are two things I do without fail here in Italy. Number one, I drink coffee every single day. 3 espressos minimum, thank you very much. So that's something I do every single day. If I don't have a coffee, I feel like I'm a zombie. And the second thing I do without fail, not every day actually, this is something maybe a few times a week, is of course have an aperitivo. But you already know that, right? Because coming soon is Quattro Aperitivi later this week. So, you know, you already know my love for this beautiful pastime here in Italy. But yes, they are things that I do on an extremely regular basis here in Italy, and I love them. The next question that I'm asked is, what do I miss most about the UK? Not a lot, of course, my family, that goes without saying. Maybe just the ability to understand everything. And I've spoken about this before. I know things will change as my Italian improves, but currently not being able to fully understand everything, not being able to walk into a bookshop and pick up a book and immediately know what it's about, I find difficult. I'm a real nerd. I love reading, I love studying, I love progressing, and the most wonderful experience for me is going into Waterstones in Piccadilly Circus, the flagship bookshop, which is over like 5 or 6 floors. It's incredible. And nerding out with all the books in the coffee shop there. It's amazing. But I can't really do that here because the English sections in the bookshops over here are very limited. So I think that's probably what I miss the most, the ability to communicate, to be fully understood, to have all my little quirks and personality traits fully understood by other people, because they're not. And I don't think they ever will be, even when I learn Italian, because us Brits, we're complicated and we have sarcasm and we have aspects of our personality that just don't translate well into Italian. So maybe this is what I miss the most about the UK. And the next thing that I'm often asked is, what is the one piece of advice that I would give to somebody living in Italy? And it's actually something that I posted on my Instagram account today, actually, and it is create your own experiences. Too often we are easily swayed by what other people tell us, whether it is good or bad, and we often allow our decisions to be made by other people, whether we realise it or not. And I cannot tell you enough how dangerous that can be. When I moved here to Italy, I was faced with so many negative naysayers who wanted to share with me the realistic parts of Italian life, which in the end turned out to be nothing like what I experienced. And then most recently, I was dealing with a bureaucratic matter, and I had listened to so many other people, and I had, basically done what I knew I shouldn't be doing, and I had got myself into a bit of a rut because I'd been warned not to do things, and I had been basically filled with fear about this particular situation. And then when I sorted it out this week, it was absolutely nothing like what people had told me. So one thing you have to remember always is that people's advice is based purely on their own situations, and that may not be applicable to you. So really be very discerning, be very careful about the advice you listen to, and really try to create your own experiences, because I think you could be very pleasantly surprised. So I hope this little Q&A has helped you. Thank you for supporting me. 100 videos in. Goodness me, I cannot believe it. Please consider subscribing to my channel, watch some of my other content, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao for now.